Now we're going to bring you today's perspective guest. And Amnesty International says there have been horrifying cases of torture and degrading treatment of Palestinian detainees with a failure to investigate incidents in custody. Human Rights Watch says Israeli forces have published degrading photographs and videos of detained Palestinians, including children. Just 2 reports released saying the cases are unacceptable, inevitably, of course, and more needs to be done to prevent them. Well, we're going to discuss the latest now with Advocacy and Communications Director for the Middle East at Human Rights Watch, Ahmed Benchemsi. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme today. What evidence, then, do you have that this kind of abuse is going on?
Well, first we have figures, and I'm talking about Israeli official figures. According to those, as of October 1st, like 10 days ago, there are 10,000 Palestinians in Israeli detention facilities, including 3,500 administrative detainees. Now, what does that mean, administrative detainee? It is a system, and I'm telling you just like official information for now. We'll get to the torture later. But administrative detention is a system that allows the Israeli military to detain a person without charge or trial, and in which the detention can be renewed indefinitely based on what? On secret information, which neither the detainees nor their lawyers are allowed to see. In other words, administrative detainees are held on the presumption that they might commit an offense at some point in the future. Under that system, the Israelis are holding children, human rights defenders, and political, activists, like for civil society, and so forth, and so on. So let's start there, even before detailing the abuse. As per the pictures that you mentioned, yes, we did analyze several posts published by Israeli forces media outlets depicting captured Palestinians stripped to their underwear, handcuffed, blindfolded, and injured with humiliating captions by Israeli soldiers. This is a form of inhumane treatment that amounts to a war crime. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I can tell you about the deaths under custody and physical torture, if you ask me.
What would you say to people who say there's a war going on, this kind of thing is inevitable?
This kind of thing is a violation of international law. This kind of thing is a war crime. So if they say that war crimes is inevitable, those who say that war crimes are inevitable don't believe in human rights. They don't believe in justice. They don't believe in accountability. We do.
How can you deal with accountability, though, when there is a war going on? When people are focused perhaps on their own loved ones, on what's going on in individual countries?
This level of administrative detainees predates October 7th. It predates the war. I'm talking about 10,000 prisoners now. There were 5,000 before October 7th. Not everything started on October 7th. It's been 75 years, and the occupation has lasted for 50 years, and we have documented countless human rights abuses by the Israeli regime. We can call it that as applied to Palestinians. It's an apartheid regime. No, the war is not a justification. This stuff started way before the war.
We also had in the summer, didn't we, the arrest of 10 Israeli soldiers after the brutal rape of a Palestinian prisoner that was caught on video.
Yeah, well, it's good that there is some measure of accountability, but it is way insufficient. And we have also documented efforts by Israeli lawmakers to avoid accountability, actually, on their troops. The arrests, let me give you a number. The arrests of Israeli soldiers for abusing Palestinians are very rare. From 2017 to 2021, less than 1%, specifically 0.87% of the complaints against Israeli soldiers led to prosecutions. So don't tell me about accountability. It's largely insufficient.
Yeah, do you see any efforts from Israel at all to bring people to justice? Wasn't there the case of a reservist who was dismissed for conduct for didn't represent the Israeli forces' values, they said?
I actually see the opposite of that. Israel's justice minister criticized the detaining for questioning of soldiers. He said that they were performing, and I quote him, a holy job. The Israeli finance minister and the national security minister both tweeted, "Hands off our reservists," as a reaction to the investigation of that soldier who was being investigated for abuse. The Knesset's defense committee chair wrote mentioned on social media this, and I quote him, "despicable pursuit of our fighters." These are top-level Israeli government and Knesset officials. So obviously, not only are they not pursuing accountability, but they are actively sabotaging it.
Do you see that it happens from both sides? I mean, let's not forget the hostages, of course, who were taken from Israel by Hamas into the Gaza Strip.
Of course, detaining hostages is absolutely unacceptable, and we have called for their release immediately, and we have called, what Hamas did on October 7th, a war crime. But a war crime on one side absolutely does not justify a war crime on the other side, and in epic proportions. And I'm also talking about war crimes that were committed before October 7th. So yeah, it's not because bad stuff is done on one side that you can do bad stuff and even worse stuff, if we compare the numbers, on the other side. One harm doesn't justify another.
Do you think there will come a point when some of the people, some of the individual involved will be brought to justice? Is it the kind of thing that can be investigated afterwards, sometimes even years afterwards?
I would certainly hope so. That's what we are here for. We and other human rights organizations, we document the violations one by one, we expose them, and we make our evidence available to all international institutions, starting with the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. We are very happy to share our findings. I mean, we already shared them with the world. They're on our website. It's very easy to find them. But we are very happy to cooperate with any international institution that pursues justice and accountability. That is our role.
And you're actually confident that any of it will make a difference?
Well, I can only hope that it will make a difference. But for now, we are continuing a job that consists in exposing grave abuses. And I thank you for having me on your channel to do just that.
And finally, I mean, the conflict at the moment anyway sees no sign of abating. Obviously, the situation has now drawn into Lebanon, may well go further into Iran as well. Who knows? Is there any way of trying to keep a lid and stopping this from happening as the conflict develops?
You mean stopping what from happening? The war?
Stopping any kind of abuse of people.
I mean, I wish there was a way, but because we are calling the international community to pressure Israel day in and day out. Every day we call them to suspend arms because those arms are evidently used to commit violations of the laws of war. We are asking for an arms embargo against Israel and also against Hezbollah, by the way, and Hamas. Look, we are fair. We apply international standards to all parties, but nobody is holding Israel accountable so far, starting by the United States. I mean, President Biden says that he wants Israel to minimize harm while selling tons and tons of explosive weapons to Israel. How does that even make sense?
Good to talk to you on the programme today. Thanks very much for joining us. Ahmed Benchemsi, Middle East Director at Human Rights Watch. Thanks very much.